Hey, yo. How you doing, man? All right. Well, we're recording. We're rolling. Thank you for doing attempt number 2 after last week.
Yep.
Oh my God, what a disaster. So, yeah. How you been?
Good. It's fucking incredibly hot out here. It's,
Really?
93.
No way. In the Bay?
30 Celsius, yeah. And of course, no one in the Bay Area, unless maybe some South Bay, some people have air conditioning, but basically nobody has air conditioning because it's, something you use maybe 20 days a year.
Exactly. I was going to say, every time I'm in the Bay, even if it's the deepest of summer, I'm freezing because of the wind.
Yeah, it's been cold lately. Last week was much colder.
Wow.
My wife and I tried movies outdoors. I got a little video projector. So, yeah, we watched a movie in our yard, and we were like under blankets, pillows, scarf, hat. Last night we slept naked with all the fucking windows open, and we were sweating.
No doubt.
So,
my God, it must be one of those like rare days where like some sun actually hits the Bay in like a meaningful way.
Indeed.
Yeah, man, I'm ready to rock when you are, so I can let you go.
Let's do this. You're not recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Oh yeah, here we're in.
Sweet. Let's go. All right, so let's dive straight in, man. Like, I feel like you're like possibly one of the quietest members of Neurosis, so I definitely want to sort of see your take on growing up in the Bay and like how sort of the unique, very unique musical landscape there sort of like, molded you to where you got to today. So how would you describe sort of like life in the Bay and then where you sort of met music as you were growing up?
Yeah, well, I grew up with laid-back parents, but they're, working class, not hippies. They weren't smoking weed or anything, but they're fairly permissive. And then Berkeley in general, especially in the 70s, was total fucking flower power here.
Yep.
Very, very, very hippie. More hippie than San Francisco, really, overall.
Right.
Lots of, like being a vegetarian wasn't weird in the 70s in Berkeley.
Right.
It's probably pretty weird anywhere else in America in the 70s. Yeah, boy, like, we, as kids, we always used to, talk about how Berkeley was super granola. Like, just health food, and, a lot of food movements actually started here, like the big push for organic foods and stuff, that all actually started in Berkeley.
Definitely.
Farm to table, both those things were actually this woman, Alice Waters, who's got a restaurant called Chez Panisse that she started in the 70s.
Wow.
And it was very popular, and then other places started taking her ideas and going with it, like, oh yeah, we also buy direct from local farmers and stuff. So, bring nothing more than like, 50 miles, whatever, like 80, 90 kilometers away from where you live.
That's pretty cool.
So then farmers, all that kind of stuff was very, very Berkeley. So it was a super laid back place to grow up in. And yeah, my dad was permissive. I was really into horror movies stuff when I was super, super young, and he was totally okay with that. So by the time I was like 7, 8 years old, I could stay up on Friday nights to watch creature features. It started at 11:30 and went till like 1 in the morning or whatever.
Awesome.
And they just played old movies and had a host, and he'd interview people. Like, I was watching previews of Star Wars a year before it came out.
No way.
Like,
wow.
George Lucas, I think 3 or 4 times before the movie came out, just hyping it. I was into Dungeons and Dragons, like when I was in 4th grade. By the time I got into 4th, 5th grade, I took the stereo, which my parents never used, out of the living room, put it in my room. Because at that point, I actually had like 3 or 4 records, and my parents had 1 cassette.
Right.
So I could sit there and listen to Kiss Alive 2 or Double Platinum or like Beatles records or whatever.
So they had like the 3 or 4 records you had, so like Kiss and the Beatles at that time?
Yeah, someone gave me Saturday Night Fever, but I hated it. Then, by the time I was in 5th grade, I started getting a little bit more serious about music. And, another late night thing I'd do is I'd listen to this radio show called Dr. Demento, and he would just play, like, comedy bits.
Right.
A lot of just strange music or kitschy music or comedy music straight up.
Right.
Like Yankovic would be on there back when he was didn't have full blown production. It was just him and an accordion ripping on songs.
Amazing.
So and then they played Devo on there, and I'm like, oh man, this is cool. This is some weird messed up music that I really can relate to.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, and they're nerds too. They're not even the cool guy. This is one thing I had against rock. Like, I know I like music, and I think I probably want to make music, but I can't see myself, like, being some cool lead singer type, like Mick Jagger strutting around stage or whatever. Like, I just didn't get that image. Oh, my God, Devo. And then my dad called me in one Saturday night. Devo's on Saturday Night Live. This is, I think they had been signed, hadn't put out, it was 76 or 77. They hadn't put out their first album yet, but I think they just signed to Warner Brothers. They do a really raw version of Satisfaction. My dad's like, hey, that Devo band you likes on Saturday Night Live. So I run upstairs to my bedroom, like, oh man, this is so good. But after that, I was hooked. I just immediately got everything they had. There was an amazing record store in Berkeley that had tons of Devo bootlegs. Like, wow. They only had a couple other bootlegs, but for some reason they had like 5 or 6 different Devo bootlegs.
Yeah. And
it would take me like, I'm saving up my allowance to buy one of those, but I've got about 10 or 12 Devo bootlegs.
That's amazing. Like actual records that got pressed in like some sort of weird circumstances?
Yeah. All the hardcore Devo stuff I had in like 1980.
Amazing.
So I was super into Devo. I was also very into The Who. And it was listening to The Who that really made me want to be a musician. I was like, okay, I love John Entwistle's bass playing.
Yeah.
This is... I was starting to listen to punk rock, and I'm like, yeah, okay, Devo is great, but they're a little silly, and it's still a kind of an artificial image. Punk rockers I could totally get.
Yeah.
It was 79 or 80 when I first started listening to punk, and I'm like, I missed it. Sex Pistols are broken up, blah, blah, blah. But I'd still see punk rockers, but I think this is still my thing, but I was pretty scary looking people.
Yeah.
But this was also a time, it was when it was less, earlier the punks didn't look too punky, maybe a little bit of spiky hair, but at this point, people were starting to look pretty crazy, and hardcore was about to happen and stuff. Right before, I think I was 12, it was a week before my 13th birthday, I went and saw my first punk show. My dad drove me to the show and came and picked me up at 2 a.m.
That's amazing. What show was it? Do you remember?
It was a band called the Red Rockers.
Right.
Who were pretty much like the Clash.
Mm-hmm.
And I just read about them in the paper saying, they're playing the Berkeley Square. They sound like the Clash. I love the Clash. So I'm like, I'm going to go. I don't really care who's playing as long as it's somebody. Like 2 or 3 weeks later, I went to a really big show in San Francisco and saw the Dead Kennedys.
Wow.
For my first I've probably seen them 20 times. They played quite frequently, and I'd go see them every time they played because I love them.
Was that first time, though, was it just like mind-shattering?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think In God We Trust Incorporated hadn't come out yet, but the 7-inch of Nazi Punks Fuck Off had just come out.
Wow. That's an abrupt title to be exposed to at that age. Just like, Jesus Christ.
I was totally into it.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah. My parents were kind of coming around looking at the lyrics and going, well, pretty extreme, but there's nothing really very wrong here.
It's a good message. It's just a bit abrupt.
It's like, again, these people are actually really ethical and thinking. These songs are about way more than most stupid rock songs are about.
Yeah.
They're not just singing about girls or some sort of fantasy land bullshit. This
is,
you know? Yeah, this is music with meaning. It's protest music, but yeah, oh my god, my dad was the best about taking me to shows. Like,
he sounds like a legend. Like to
yeah.
You know, most people's stories are like, yeah, I had to like get 8 buses to the gig, and then I had to leave early to get the last train home or whatever. You know.
Yeah, my dad took me to a few shows in San Francisco. That got old pretty fast, but there was no bus that ran late at night in my neighborhood. But once I started getting some more punk rock friends, especially ones that were older than me, then I just said, I'm spending the night at his house. We're going to San Francisco. We're going to go see a show. And there was a bus that would come close to his house. And yeah, we'd have to, man, the shows would get out at 2, and it was about a mile away from the bus station. And the last bus left at 2:13. If you didn't make that 2:13 bus, you were screwed. Yes. And we'd be like, you know, we can't miss the end of this fucking Black Flag set or Circle Jerks or DOA or what the fuck we were seeing. We're like, oh man. Oh, good, it ended at 2. We gotta run. So we have to run for 5 or 10 minutes to the fucking, about 10 minutes. Oh man, that run was painful, but yeah, we missed the bus. If you missed the bus, you had to wait until 6 in the morning.
Oh my god.
Sunday.
Oh
my I did miss it once. I missed it. Yeah, that sucked. But yeah, that was my life growing up. I was super lucky. My dad totally supported my music. He would 3 or 4 times he drove gear to gigs when I was in a band that didn't stuff. One time, even when I was an adult, one time when Neurosis was between vans, or van was in the shop, actually, my dad used to work with my cousin, so my dad had a work van that was basically his car, old beat up van. But I was like, "Hey, Dad, can I borrow the work van? Neurosis has a show in San Francisco, and we our van was broken, so the shop getting fixed." He's like, "Why don't I take you to the show?" I'm like, "Really?" Like, yeah, I saw you that one time. He's like, "You said you changed a lot." I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, all right. We play our set, we get done playing, and Dad's like, "Wow, you guys are so much better. Oh my god, you guys are totally in now. That was great. I can't believe it." He's like, "Well, what's up with this headliner?" I'm like, "Oh, they're the Melvins. I like them a lot. I don't know what you're going to think of them." Now, my dad, he didn't get all. They got done playing, my dad was like, "I'm sorry, but those guys were way better than you. That was incredible." Hey, that's awesome. You like the Melvins? He's like, "I loved them."
That's absolutely amazing.
He's like, "No, I don't listen to music." He's like, "But they were incredible."
Dude, your dad sounds like an absolute legend. That's amazing. And also to be like brutally honest with you, like, hey, you guys were okay, but like compared to the Melvins.
Yeah, at least I'm going, yeah, I respect that.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. So as you're coming into your teens or like in your mid-teens, like where are you sort of picking up the bass, and how are you sort of starting off on that point?
I knew I wanted to make music. I knew I wanted to play rock and roll and or punk. So for my 13th birthday, I told my dad I wanted a bass,
right,
an amp. We found some kind of junky looking dude in San Francisco that was selling a bass with the small amp for like $250 or something. My dad said sure. So went over there and got my first bass.
Amazing.
And yeah, within did you say what kind or something?
No, I said amazing.
Oh, yeah. My birthday was also December 22nd, so it's right next to Christmas.
Yep. So
I just said that's my combined gift. I know it's like $250, kind of a lot of money back then. I said this will be the both.
Yep.
But yeah, within the year, I had a band together. We played one open mic night. I think we started Blackguard started I think in '82.
Right.
And I wrote down some rough notes for when bands were around. It had to have been 1982.
Wow, that was the first band.
Yeah, and then so I would have been. I was still in junior high. I was in the 8th grade then. And then in the 9th grade, I started a band called Public Enema with two guys from Berkeley and two guys older than me. We existed and broke up all in 1983.
Right.
We been practicing a few months. We got a set together really fast, played a party. The singer for the band kept talking about how he was going to go on a half-year trip around the world.
Right.
We're like, let's see if this actually happens. We kind of didn't believe it, especially the band was doing pretty good. He's like, all right, so I'm leaving on my trip for next month. Like, you're still doing that? Like, we're ready to play a show now. We just played a party. Everyone loved us. We could totally start playing shows. He's like, no. When I get back, and we were just like, oh man, come on. And we finally just said, well, what if we got someone to sit in for you while you were gone? He was like, oh, that's okay. So we did that. Recorded a demo with our new guy, who was a high school friend.
Right.
Started playing shows. Thought it was great. Figured the other guy that did go to Berkeley High that was best friends with the original singer was probably on board with the fact that, no, we are the band now. It's 6 of us. Yep. And the 5 of us. We've been together for half the year. He's like, well, Barry's coming back soon. Like, yeah, we need to have a talk about that. He's like Barry's coming back to sing for us, right? And we're like, well, we like being with Luke. We go to school with him every day. We're totally great friends with him.
Yeah.
Barry was in the band for a few months. But, we had a show coming up opening for the Dead Kennedys.
At 15?
Huh?
At the age of 14 and 15-ish?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So we parted ways with the guitar player and had to change our name. I don't even remember if we were advertised as Public Enema. I think by the time we hit the stage, I decided on Violent Coercion.
Oh,
and that name stuck.
Yeah.
So, funnily enough, the original singer for Public Enema got the band back together again. So now, every couple of years, we'll get together and play 3 or 4 shows.
Amazing.
We actually had a show we had a couple shows that got canceled because of COVID-19. We had some shows in April and May.
Did you guys ever record anything that you remember these songs by, or is it just sort of stuck in your memory?
We had a copy of a demo, but we actually just remembered them all.
Yeah.
And we just threw in a few more covers, wrote a couple more songs, and we've got about a half-hour set now. But It's a lot of fun. It's exactly the kind of music we were listening to and playing in 82, 83.
Yeah.
So
around that time, obviously, punk is exploding, in the hardcore forms and stuff like that, and then, I can only imagine that you're probably also experiencing Exodus and Metallica, perhaps, at the same time.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah, definitely. I had a friend that got. All I don't know when Kill 'Em All had come out, but they were touring for Kill 'Em All, and my friend's it's man, all my friends at Albany High are listening to this, and they're all going, man, this is like a punk rock and heavy metal. I'm like, that sounds interesting, because actually even before I formed Blackguard, I was also listening to metal.
Right.
I've been into Black Sabbath and Dio and Iron Maiden and stuff. And punk rock, and then when punk rock was exploding, like you said, and I was in the scene, I turned my back on metal. But then a couple years later, my friend Dylan says, he was actually the guitar player in Blackguard, singer guitarist. So all my friends listen to this band Metallica. They're touring for their first album. They're going to be playing the Keystone Berkeley. We should go check it out together. So we went, and there's no other punk rockers there, that's for sure. I was pretty scared being in a room full of big, scary-looking metalheads. but they're stage diving and stuff, and I was just like, I'm sold. I'm getting that record. Cool. I'm like, there you go. So, yeah, like, I kind of made a point of checking out that stuff. A couple weeks later, Megadeth was up, so I went and saw them. Like, yeah, they're okay. They're not as good as Metallica, even though that guy used to be in the band.
Do you remember anything from seeing Metallica in those days, like on the Kill 'Em All tour? Was it just like electric?
Yeah. Oh God, it was so great seeing Cliff Burton too, being a bass player. I
was gonna say, like,
completely blown away.
Because they were giving him like the bass solo spots at that time, so I can only imagine like you as a bass player must have totally appreciated that.
Yeah. What did they do? Jeez, they had one song. They were playing something off Red Lightning. Call of Cthulhu. They played Call of Cthulhu.
No way. That's amazing.
We gotta do it for you, motherfuckers.
That's a track.
That was bad. Yeah. Yeah, they were great. They played... the opening band was called Razor's Edge, and they had a guy that was also the drummer in Fang, Tim Stiletto, and Fang was a band I'd been seeing a bunch lately because they played all the time and I loved them. They were kind of like the Black Flag of the East Bay. Funnily enough, about 10 years after that, Tim would become my roommate, the drummer.
Right.
But, that was the opening bit, and main support was Raven.
Right. Yeah.
Raven, the singer, was wearing a hockey mask and he was hitting the cymbals with his face.
Raven's a great band to go see. They're just like, they haven't lost the energy since that time. It's kind of amazing.
I saw Metallica 2 other times, and both times with Cliff. I never saw him with anybody else.
Wow.
Maybe it was repeat. Yeah. That's Black Mother, right?
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely amazing. Like, I always it's like a common thread through these episodes where like a lot of the people who I've talked to thus far got to see those Glory Day Metallica shows. So I'm always like, I feel like I was born like about a decade too late. Because I would have loved to have gone and seen like those Glory era things. So that's always awesome to hear these actual stories of people seeing Cliff and the dudes with actual long hair.
I can actually dovetail this into what we were just talking about before that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So all this is going on. Violent Coercion starts because we decided to go with the second singer from Public Enema, and we lost the original second guitarist from Public Enema, so we were a four-piece at that point. And slowly, because of going to that Metallica show and liking all the stuff that followed, metal started creeping into the Violent Coercion sound.
Awesome.
And I think we were probably the first band in the Bay Area that was called a crossover band, at least crossing over from the punk side into metal.
Yep.
Attitude Adjustment came about half a year after us.
Sweet.
They were definitely, and then there's a lot of bands from the metal side crossing over, and then suddenly DRI comes out with album crossover.
Yeah.
CO's Freaky. But more and more metal was creeping into our sound. Trying to think, all these different lineup changes kind of led from Violent Coercion turning into Neurosis as well.
Right.
So Violent Coercion was around, I think, from 83 to 84, and then towards the very end of Violent Coercion, Violent Coercion had three drummers. First it was a drummer for Public Enema.
Right.
Then it was Jason from Neurosis.
Yep.
And then Jason quit, and then we just asked our friend Matt from this band Sacrilege BC if he'd fill in on drums.
Right.
And at that point, Sacrilege's bass player had already quit, and I was playing bass in Sacrilege.
Right.
And they were a great thrash metal band, put out 2 albums. Although I quit them to start Neurosis, in early '85, right before they recorded their first album.
Right. But,
So
but you guys were like playing with. I think you said that you were playing with like Possessed and Death and stuff like that.
Yeah, we opened for. We were first on the bill for Metal Church once.
Wow.
Early Testament, back when they were called Legacy.
Yep. Amazing.
So they found a soul band called Legacy, so they had to change their name. I went to school with the lead guitarist from Legacy, actually.
Cool.
Testament, well, Legacy at the time. But anyway, within Violent Coercion, things were kind of falling apart towards the end. One guy was getting more into stuff like Husker Du. The rest of us were getting more into metal, but we were also kind of getting out of metal and going, now everyone's sounding crossover, and so are we, and we're not so sure about this.
Right.
And then our singer was like, I'm going off to college. So we got a new singer who actually drew the Pain of Mind album cover.
Okay.
Anyway, we just kind of drifted apart, and and towards the end of Violent Coercion as well, Scott Kelly joined on second guitar.
Awesome.
We actually tried him out. We tried him out on vocals and didn't like it. Didn't like what. So I'm like, man, I like you. Like, cool dude. You play guitar? He's like, I used to play the bass. I said, could you play guitar? Would you want to be in this band? He's like, I don't have a guitar. He was like 17. He might have been 18, but he had just like run away from San Diego and was actually at that point living in a car. He very soon after that moved into a Fleabag hotel, and then eventually got an apartment, of course.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a guitar or amp. But I'm like, well, you know what? I got a guitar, and I actually have a guitar amp. Just take my guitar and be in the band with us. It's like, okay.
That's amazing.
So when the guitar player that I was in Dynamo with and everyone else was butting heads over like, oh, I want to be more like Husker Du, and we were like, oh, I want to be more metal, but also we're kind of getting sick of the fact that everyone else sounds metal. We just want to do something else.
Yeah.
Well, but then I was talking to Scott, and I was like, man, you, me, and Jason. Jason was great. Jason just had problems with some of the other guys in the band. You, me, and Jason, let's put together a new band. So that's when Neurosis was born.
That's when
we were all left over from Violent Coercion.
Yep.
And we said, you know what, let's just try to throw out the rule book. Let's try to create our own music and not try to sound like other bands and everyone else. Let's try to let's figure out what inspires us, you know, and why we like Rudimentary P9, why P9 sounds like P9, no one else sounds like them.
Yeah.
It's because they're doing, we got to find our thing. But, you know, along the way, we're going to take little bits and pieces of the things that were bands that were unique. So, there was, of course, Black Flag, Amebix, Rudimentary P9, Discharge, Black Flag, everything you think you hear in Neurosis, of course.
Yeah, because you can hear that in the early records for sure.
Yeah.
And so, like, my thing was, I was, like, always saying, like, how do you go from those sort of, like, I guess more hardcore sounds, and like, it's good to know now that, like, it was an actual, probably not, like, as purposefully thought out, but, like, there was a mission statement to eventually, like, step your way to something different. You know, it didn't just, like...
We're always trying to be unique. And pretty early on, I thought we were pretty much. We got pretty big pretty fast. So that's when we came out of a weird scene from this big warehouse people lived at and eventually just stopped paying rent at, so I guess squatted, called New Method.
Right.
Town called Emeryville, which is just kind of a no man's land between part of Berkeley and part of Oakland.
Right.
Very industrial. It was originally kind of what we call a peace punk place, like bands like Crucifix and like band PLH lived there, Peace, Love, and Happiness. All these people that, you know, wore black and had dreadlocks, which was to be us as well. We came from that scene. Christ on Parade was most of them were living there, and they were like our sister band. But it was also a place where we had a show space where we put on illegal shows. And that was great. We had all sorts of bands play there. COC played there on their Technocracy tour.
Amazing.
Yeah, but it was mostly these kind of local bands. 7 Seconds played there once. Utah Today played there.
Wow.
People that found out about it would get in touch and want to play there, but otherwise it would frequently just be local bands. Sometimes it would just be was I in Neurosis and Sacrilege at the same time? No, I guess Violent Coercion and Sacrilege played there before Neurosis became Neurosis.
Right.
So I played back to back with both bands. That was a lot of fun. Anyway, yeah, we had a great scene going on there, and then the cops started coming and busting up all the shows.
Right.
And we wasn't there anymore. So there were some people. This guy Victor Hayden, who would later on form Alchemy Records, who put out Pain of Mind, our first album.
Yep.
He was somebody that towards the end of the Method started getting really involved with it and helping put on the shows there. And he got really excited about Maximum Rock and Roll, and he's like, we need to do this stuff. So he got Timmy O'Hannon on board, and he's like, we got to find a permanent place. So out of that scene was born what became Gilman Street, which idealistically was about the same kind of stuff, but what's funny is style-wise it came out completely different.
Yep.
Like, silliness became the biggest thing at Gilman. Everyone was trying to out-silly each other, and they thought people that were too serious were, they made fun of people that were too serious.
Right.
Even though, arguably, Neurosis was probably the biggest local band that was headlining there frequently.
Yeah.
But people loved it. And,
so like, in terms of, like, Gilman Street...
We were the band that sold the place out, too. We would play there once a month, headline, and sell it out.
Wow. Because I was going to say, like, playing shows at Gilman Street, you guys, like, early on would just build with, like, future megastars, Green Day and stuff like that. Like, when I see these flyers and, like, old photos and stuff like that, I'm just like...
Yeah, I even kind of grew up with those guys. I mean, even before they were Green Day, their original drummer, John, was a high school student of my father's. My father taught in a nearby town called El Sobrante.
Right.
And my dad dropped off Public Enema demos at a couple of the kids' desks there. What the... Is this a punk compilation tape or something? Like, no, it's a demo tape for my son's band. Son plays in a punk band? Like, yeah. Like, wow, and you could tell that we like punk? He's like, yeah, because of the way he's dressed. Like, do they have any shows coming up? My dad's like, yeah, they're playing in a couple weeks at this place called Ruthie's Inn in Berkeley. So they all came. And I met this big group of guys from El Sobrante, and they later on became a band called Exocracy. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
They were a very early Gilman Street band, and very, very, very silly.
Right.
They would throw bags of garbage at the crowd.
Oh my god!
Like, and they'd fill their cars with stuff from the dump, and then they'd spend the next, the rest of the night cleaning it up afterwards. They'd spend an hour cleaning up Gilman and fill a dumpster.
That's
or pack it back.
Amazing.
Get away with them.
So, I guess, like, through the next couple of years, as you guys, your sound changes, and it evolves. It sort of gets more complex, more serious. I would say deeper. Yeah. I remember, like, one time having a conversation with Scott, and he was explaining to me that in some facet or some way, you guys ended up getting banned from Gilman Street?
No, we never got banned from Gilman. Green Day did.
Wow.
They signed to a major label.
Right.
And they were always trying. They somehow they somehow got around it and did a secret show at Gilman that was a benefit for something. So Gilman let them do it. And my old band, the Enemies, got back together and played, which was fun. That was the band I was in the early 2000s. Kind of like fast, hardcore, but pop punk.
Yep.
It's really good stuff, though. No, we got banned from Maximum Rock and Roll.
Really?
Timmy O'Hannon said we weren't punk rock anymore. So this magazine's for punk rockers, and we were like, when we first started reading this magazine, I mean, it would go from Sonic Youth to the Butthole Surfers to MDC to, all sorts of weird stuff. Anything that was weird was punk rock.
Yeah.
We're like, how are we not punk anymore? We're still totally punk. It's like, no, you're not. I'm like, what are we? He's like, well, personally, I'd call you a prog band. I'm like, what? He's like, look, don't be. He's just like, get over yourselves and just get on with it. You guys are going to do great. You don't need Maximum Rock and Roll, but no, you can't advertise in our magazine anymore, and we're not going to mention you in scene reports anymore.
Oh my god!
You're not the only. He's like, you're not the only band this has happened to. He's like, we're not. He's like, the Melvins are already out. All these other bands are out. It's like we're cleaning house on stuff that we don't consider punk anymore.
Right. I feel like that's a regrettable decision on his part.
We were very close to Maximum Rock and Roll. We were very behind it, so
yeah.
we were very hurt.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's just like don't worry about it. At that point, we just kind of outgrown Gilman.
Yeah.
But no, every couple of years, I still get a phone call from the booker at Gilman going, "I know you guys haven't played Gilman in forever. Will you consider playing here? We really
wow. There you go.
Back.
Do you think you guys would have a cram in there?
No, it's been ages since we played there. But it's just too small for us, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Difficult for
I mean, seeing you guys play St. Vitus in New York that about 5 years ago, even that, I was like, man, these guys are not going to have fun on that stage tonight. That was a crammed show.
It was a lot of fun. It just would have been nice to be able to move a little bit, but
absolutely,
that was great in my face.
I absolutely love that show.
Yeah. Okay. This conversation can dovetail with something else.
Yeah.
So then once Neurosis got big, and we've been touring for a long time. That's when I realized I did have enough spare time to start messing around with other bands. I had a girlfriend. She and I had a band that played like a couple shows together, doing kind of goth punk kind of stuff. With my friend Jason on drums. He lived downstairs from me, and he was in that band Enemies I was just talking about that I wound up being on the second album and one split EP with. He's been in a bunch of bands with me. We're in a punk rock karaoke band together.
Nice.
We used to have an Iron Maiden cover. Yeah, we used to have an Iron Maiden cover band. Iron Vegan. I was the
Iron Vegan. That's amazing.
We were very. Yeah, it was a who's who of East Bay punk people, and we were very, very good. We played the songs super legit. It was a lot of fun. Early 2000s, I did like a fast thrash kind of crossovers with more hardcore kind of band. Jesus fucking Christ. We put out 2 records.
Right. I've always tried to find that stuff. For some reason, I can't really find much. So I'm gonna have to search it out.
You're gonna send me something. Give me your address, and I'll send you copies of our records. I think I should have an extra copy.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, that stuff that's very Pacific Northwest too. So it's very Poison Idea meets The Accused.
Perfect. Because I think at some stage this might be in the late 90s. I started a band with some friends from high school. And none of them had ever really heard crossover music before, but I was trying to sing, and I think I just about ruined my voice for about a year trying to sing like Blaine.
That's great. You got to be really close to them. So the guitar player, vocalist from Jesus Fucking Christ, eventually moved back home to be back in on Bainbridge, which you might know, it's an island next to Seattle.
Yep.
So he moved back up there because he had twins, and Oakland wasn't the kind of neighborhood they could afford to live in, and Oakland was not a good place to be raising kids. But we kept the band together the whole time, and the guys that are now calling themselves Martha's Revenge.
Yep.
Also, we're called Toe Tag.
Right.
And it's basically three out of four of the original Accused members, including Blaine, the singer.
Yep.
Jesus Fucking Christ made sure we always... Actually, we played with them a bunch of times when they would come to the Bay Area, and then once Larry moved up there, they would play with us when we either were traveling up there or after Larry moved there. So
amazing.
So we're good friends with those guys.
Yeah.
And and my old band Sacrilege opened the very first show the Accused ever played in the Bay Area.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing because like that era of the Accused, like just metal magic or crossover magic.
Yeah. I got the their first record was just a 6-song version of Martha Splatterhead with just a red label on it.
Yep.
Didn't come with anything. And a clear plastic sleeve. Like, this is our record.
That's
okay.
Amazing. That's so
awesome. Pressed up just in time for tour or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What sort of around that area as your sort of like your sound is morphing? How is it that you came into contact with like Jello / alternative tentacles?
Well, he basically knew that he ran the biggest punk label in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
And he had total respect for all the bands on the label that he, Super and No Means No and stuff like that. That's another band we played their first Bay Area show. Neurosis opened for No Means No the first time they came up.
Amazing.
Or down, I should say. Yeah. So many bands first time in the Bay Area. Victims Bank, Singer Roses, their first time in the East Bay, they played with Neurosis. It's amazing all the people have gotten to meet.
I didn't realize that Neurosis was like so prolific in this aspect. I feel like from what's out there in the narrative that like you guys were more sort of like in the dark, but hearing that you guys were like kind of like a stalwart of sorts, actually really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Scott and Steve both became more private later on, but still very vocal with the press and everything, obviously.
Yep.
But no, we were all just people that love music and love hanging out and seeing shows, playing shows, and making friends with guys in other bands and traveling and helping put on shows. Scott was helping run New Method. He was living there, so we had the squatted warehouse. He was living there, and he was helping run the show space.
Yep.
The Melvins. First time the Melvins ever played around here, they played New Method. I had a strep throat and I couldn't go, but I heard them rehearsing a couple days later when I got better.
Yep.
Their van broke down, and so they were stuck here, and they stayed. They actually were living in the show space.
That's
and
amazing.
Rehearsing every day. And Scott's like, "Oh man, it's like you're feeling better. Just when you get out of, I was still in high school. He's like, when you get out of school, just come on my New Method, man. You got to check out Melvins. So they'll be rehearsing. They rehearse every day, all day long. Like, okay. And the way the warehouse is built was really strange. Scott had a window in his bathroom that opened into the show space. It was very odd. But it was very convenient to, sell beer to people through that window as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, all sorts of nefarious activities.
So he'd slide the window open and we'd listen to Melvins and we were just like, what the fuck? This is like some sort of gluey Black Sabbath flipper Black Flag or something.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Yeah. And then, of course, years later, we put out both of our first albums on Alchemy Records.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. There's so many weird close connections and stuff, people and band members and friends or whatever. Just weird random things. That Krallice album I did vocals for.
Yep.
Loom. That happened just mostly because Neurosis and Gorguts were playing a metal festival together in Canada, and I went over to go watch Gorguts. They were like the first band on the main stage, and we were like the headlining band on a small stage.
Yep.
But I watched them, and then I rushed backstage, or behind the stage, as it were, on a big festival stage.
Yep.
And told them how much I liked them, and they recognized me immediately. And then Blackie from fucking Voivod's there. And go, hey,
Amazing.
Black, what are you doing here with these guys? Like, oh, I'm their sound man and their driver.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, yeah. Put fans on, I drive them. Like, oh, shit. And I had a coworker who's friends with Kevin Hufnagel, the non-singing guitar player from Gorguts.
Right.
And I said, my friend Drew says to say hi to you, Kevin. I work at Drew from Dimes Land. He's like, Drew, man, you're doing good. Yes,
that's awesome.
And that's all awesome. He's like, I was hoping I get to talk to you or something, since you guys are here, and I never met you, but I know you work with my friend. Like, yeah. And then I just started talking to Colin, and me and him just fucking hit it off like that. So we just went walking around and talked to each other, like, what are you doing now? I don't know. I was seeing if I get something to eat. And I was like, I was actually on my way to get food too. Yeah, you know where it is? No, I don't know. Let's figure out how to get there. So, because you festival and the food was actually like, a couple kilometers away or something. You had to find someone with the golf carts to drive you there.
Jesus.
But, but we hung about 3 or 4 hours and just talking. Like, I'm really clicking with this Colin guy. He's awesome. So I think that got the wheels turning, and then a couple months later he emails me. He's like, the guy that's going you and me talk, and we were talking about it. You want to do vocals for a whole album for us? It's like, I was suggesting we do a song since I know you. I figured you probably said yes, but you decided a whole album. Would you be into that? I'm like, fuck yeah.
yeah. I mean, like that stuff is awesome, and actually hearing your vocals on there, I was like, this takes it up to the next notch. And so I was actually hoping that you would end up being like the full-time vocalist for Krallice, and because I think it's like, at least in my circle of people, we're all like, we miss Dave's vocals.
It was really fun to get back to doing lead vocals again. That was super awesome, and super fun hanging out with those guys. Those guys are also smart and so funny, and I don't understand how they can write and play music that fast and that complicated and smoke so much pot as those guys smoke. Unbelievable. Those guys are fucking big, and I can't figure their stuff out. So this is something I had to be fairly coached on some of the vocals for that record, because, well, first of all, I figured out everything a little bit wrong, and then I tried to figure it out right. It didn't make sense, but I know what I wanted to sing where, but sometimes I wouldn't know exactly when the one was going to start.
Right.
And Colin finally, because he just sent me all the music. It didn't say we go through this part 4 times, then we add an extra half here, and then we go on to the next part, but there's kind of a little thing here that happens. So I didn't really understand how things would flow from one part to the next, because it never goes back and does the same thing twice the same way either.
No.
They never ever do that. So I started writing down times to come in on things. But but then I didn't have the timer when I was in there doing vocals. I couldn't see what time things were happening at.
Right.
So I kind of needed to be coached a little bit. I'm like, can you just give me a count-in for this? There's one part where Colin just had to go tick tock 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 with the drum machine. Like the beginning song, like I come in after that because it's fresh. I don't know when that thing's gonna hit. So I think I would have a really hard time doing it live.
Well, I mean that therein lies the magic of it, because like, especially with like super complex music like that, I don't feel like that many bands who play super complex music like that, or the vocals are always a little bit behind or thing, because I think honestly, like, it is hard to get those measures right.
Yeah. So I also slopped it up a bit. What's another fun thing to announce is the very last thing I've done musically was a couple months ago I did vocals for another Krallice song.
Yes,
that was a lot of fun.
I was listening to that.
They said, could you work with the song title Masked Effects? Because that's what we're going to call the album. We want the song you sing to be the title track. So I said, sure.
There you go.
Looked up some lyrics real fast, did my vocal part, and a week later they put it up online. So if you go to Bandcamp, you can look up Masked Effects and sing with them again.
I'll have a link in the bottom for everyone that's watching.
What's that?
I'll have a link in the bottom for everyone that's watching, so that you can go listen to that new track straight away.
Oh, cool, yeah. Because this time was much easier because Colin actually gave me a map. So like, okay, so you do this 4.5 times, and you do this 5 or whatever.
Right.
So that made it so easy. If you need, he's like, call me when you're doing vocals and you need to be coached. I'm like, no. The map works.
Yep.
I totally happy with the map.
So in that aspect, do you where it's like, okay, you need to do it 4 times there, 5 times there. Do you then write to that, or are you going with his lyrics, or?
I started off with just lyrical ideas, and then I got the song about 2/3 of the way done. And then I was like, okay, well, this is just lyrics. I don't know where they're going to go.
Yep.
But all the different chunks could go in any place. It didn't really matter the order.
Yep.
And I found parts where I wanted to put them.
Yep.
Also, he had some restrictions saying, we don't want there to be vocals here. If you want to put vocals there, go ahead, but we don't want them there. If you get there, I'm like, that's fine. He's like, I think you should definitely sing over this part. So I had parts I knew I should be singing over or not.
Right.
And I had words and I saw what would fit where. And I go, oh, this part actually works here. Or if I just add one more line here, I can have all these parts go here. It all just kind of fell into place. I'm like, okay, I just need a couple things here. Just sing one word here and stretch it out. One word here. Just that little 3-word thing I wanted to put in there. Perfect.
That's
just,
amazing.
I don't know, kind of just fell into place for the word.
That's amazing.
It wasn't difficult.
So in that aspect, on the lyricism and sort of playing at the same time sort of deal, when as Neurosis started to get more expansive and everything, and I mean your bass playing was for lack of a better comparison, it was much more Cliff Burton than it was and John Entwistle than it was I don't know, Sid Vicious. As you were trying to like do vocals over that sort of stuff, were you writing the vocals, or were you going off like what Scott and Steve were writing, or like were you putting it all together yourself?
All of the above.
Cool. Just a big collaborative effort?
Not necessarily. No, in the beginning, definitely I was writing all my own stuff, like Pain of Mind. There would be the stuff Scott wrote, the stuff that I wrote.
Yeah.
Or we would collaborate. But I would definitely bring in a lot of finished stuff. Scott would bring in that point in time a lot of almost finished stuff. And he'd always, include some vocals for me. And if I wrote a song, I'd always include some vocals for him.
Yep.
I'd say, you sing this whole, I'll sing this whole part straight off here.
Yep.
Songs would work out every which way.
Yeah.
But sometimes it would be like, I want you to sing this part, Dave. Here's my lyrics. Go ahead and make up your words for that part. Or they would be like, I've got some words for you to sing here.
That's
I come up with Scott would have me needing a part for a song. I come up with a part. You guys wanted you sing that. It's worked out many different ways.
Yeah. That's so awesome. And I think Scott once told me that the Enemy of the Sun record ended up being sort of a happy accident in a way, because it was supposed to perhaps be an EP, but there was just enough flesh on the bone for it to end up being an album.
Yes, it was. We spent a long time. I don't know why. We kind of got stuck on the song "Lost."
Apt title.
I don't know why. We just kept going over and over and over again, reworking it for the keyboard parts. And then we had a couple other songs already done, so we're like, well, let's put out an EP just to have something.
Yeah.
So we set up a recording date. We're like, we could probably just do it all in 2 or 3 days, like a day and a half to record and start mixing, and then another full day to mix, so 3-4 days, I don't remember what we put. But, because we're like, we're just going to go in and record 3, maybe 4 songs. So then something happened, we clicked on Lost, and Steve's like, so I've been working on this. Scott's like, I got some material. I was like, I got some stuff too. And then we learned all these other songs really quickly. And then we still had more we hadn't really begun to work on. Like, oh God, we go down to practice and be like, wow, we got like 5 new songs to work on.
Yeah.
And like, I wrote something else. He's like, I wrote something else too. And I was like, I've been working on this show. So went in to record. We had like 3 pieces, I think, unfinished. Way more than we thought finished. But we're like, well, let's just go in and record. Maybe cancel those mix days and reschedule like 3-4 weeks down the road once we figure out the rest of everything, and then do 4 days then to record the rest of it and mix it all. So yeah, it quickly went from being a EP to an album.
That's awesome, because
especially after getting hung up on a song for so long, I don't know why we were so overwrought on that song, and then why everything came out so quickly afterwards, but we got our flow back.
Yeah. I was going to say, because that for me still is the one where I feel like Neurosis really became 100% Neurosis. Like, that's the one.
It's true, yeah. I mean, Souls and Zero was certainly...
It's a great album.
Way different. Yeah, and definitely the beginning of they're really taking this somewhere else.
Yeah.
But that was just like getting our feet wet.
Yeah.
And Enemy of the Sun was definitely the very early part of the more mature, fully fleshed out.
When I first heard Enemy of the Sun, because I grew up on such a rigid diet of like death metal, thrash, and at that point in time, I just started getting super heavy into black metal, and it sort of like cracked my skull open in the fact that like I was like, this band has a traditional rhythm section, like the bass and the drums are as important as the guitars, as opposed to like all the black and death metal stuff where it's just like guitars and drums. And so it was like a whole new sort of coming to terms and like understanding how instruments are supposed to mesh together like that. I'm like, it doesn't need to sound like a wasp's nest the whole time, it can have some low end in it. So you definitely kicked that door open for me, and that to me is absolutely awesome. And I was going to say, like, at that point in time, like, I I think you guys like broke away from Alternative Tentacles, and then the Nailbomb thing happened between there and Through Silver and Blood, or was it after? That whole.
Oh, no, Through Silver and Blood.
Because you still had dreads when the Nailbomb thing happened, as far as I can see.
No, it was before. Yeah. Yeah, some of the guys in Sepultura came and saw us and really, really liked us because they heard that we sounded kind of like the Amoebics or something.
Yep.
And they saw us, and then, the song Enemy of the Song, we were already starting to do the Scott and Steve percussion thing.
Yeah.
Which,
I feel like they may have stolen
very much
a little bit.
Very influenced with Roots because they got into the heavy percussion thing.
Yeah.
So Max Havler saw us and liked us and was putting together a live version of Nailbomb and just hit me up, and I was like, fuck, I can take a week off of my life and go get paid bucks to play a festival in front of 180,000 people and rehearse twice in fucking Arizona.
Right. and like still like when I watched that Dynamo set back, and you see how big the crowd was, it is actually mind blowing for how. I mean, still to this day, I feel like Point Blank still sits in sort of like a dark recess. It's not like the most well-known thing, but just to see that record essentially get played in front of, like, as you said, like 180,000 people, and the crowd is going nuts.
It was amazing. Like, oh my god, we got the first bunch of rows all pogo. And like, there's 180,000 people, or that's not the first few rows. That's probably like 20,000 people pogoing or something. Yeah. I was like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, once I got over the stage fright, I was just like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah. Because at first, like, I always noticed, like, you were kind of like in the zone, just trying to probably hold it together, and then by the end of the set, you're just like really going at it.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. So yeah, you got to really do that.
Yeah, that was Ronaldo a week and a half.
Yeah. and after you come back from that, I guess you guys moved on to Relapse, and what would you say would be sort of like because I think widely regarded Through Silver and Blood might be your Rain and Blood, Master of Puppets, record.
Sure. Yep. Got you.
What would you say was the sort of like the if you could touch on, I don't know, what the magic or the ingredients may have been at that time that went into that record that maybe made it pop like it did?
For different reasons, in different ways, we were all kind of crazy, fucked up people at that point in time.
Right.
And we were at that point very focused on touring, and you could hear it on Enemy of the Sun. You kind of discovered that dark side and that voice of just gnarliness.
Yep.
And we just trusted that was our inner voice and totally ran with it.
Yeah.
And just said, we're going all into this dark shit, just musically and state of mind wise. But yeah, we were touring under very bad conditions, but didn't give a fuck. We were just maniacal about let's just fucking hit the pound people, just fucking pummel them.
Yeah.
And we did, and it kind of reflected, on how dark those results were. We also felt like doing things that were taking a psychic toll on us. It was a little bit too brutal.
Yep.
we were kind of torturing ourselves in all sorts of different ways. So that would be exactly why we said, okay, we gotta change things up.
Take a step.
We also really liked Steve Albini's production. We felt badly in Billy Anderson, but Billy was also part of the whole dark vibe and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Albini just puts that clean, clear sound, and we have taken ourselves to the point of sounding very muddy and overboard, but everyone just turned up all the way all the time, and it just kind of becomes this wall, and we enjoy that wall.
Yeah.
Then we're like, okay, we gotta clean up that part of the sound. So we checked out Albini when we recorded a record. Just, sure, I heard you guys. Yeah, of course. I don't turn people down. I'm like, oh, okay, great.
Cool.
Our friends seem to think that you wouldn't want to record us because we don't sound like your kind of band. It's like, I don't care what anyone sounds like. Anyone can record with me. Like, people get this impression that I'm some sort of guy that's like, no, I'm too cool. You can't record with me or something. Anyway, so we're like, cool. So we also, at that point, we're kind of consciously writing in a way like, okay, we need to let certain things breathe a little bit more. Maybe the ends of songs can be still full board, gnarly, but let's give things a little more space. So we go in there, Steve Albini's not trying to clean up all this mud. In the end, he wasn't trying to clean anything up. He just recorded us and mixed it.
Yeah. I mean, that's his specialty, right? He sort of is the canvas, and whatever you throw at the canvas, he's like, cool.
Yeah, he's like, what I do is practically field recording.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to put my imprint on it. I mean, but then there's certain things you can't avoid. There kind of is Albini snare sound.
Yeah, well,
anyway,
his snare sound with you guys is like 100% like your signature.
Yes. And this is also the reason why we named the album Times of Grace.
Right.
This is literally what we were looking for in our own lives, was like, let's pull ourselves out of this darkness. And, for most people, it'd still be maybe a dark record, but not nearly as dark as Through Silver and Blood. Like, that was as dark as you wanted to get. And boy, what great success. Never turned her back on Albini. He's fucking fantastic with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think we brought him a fair bit of business, too. He says, oh, you still wouldn't believe how many bands come in and say, hey, give me that Steve Von Till guitar sound. And I'll be like, wow.
Do you have a mothership?
Can you get Steve down here with his amplifier and his guitars and maybe have him play the parts for you? If you happen to sound like Steve Von Till, then maybe you can call it Steve Von Till guitar sound.
Yeah.
It's nothing. I'm putting microphones on his amplifiers and he's doing everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you can't. I mean, standing on the side of the stage that time in Philly when you guys played that one particularly snowy evening, watching Steve that close and how he reacts with his amplifier, it's almost like a dance through the set. I was just like, anyone who's trying to be Steve, you just can't, never. It's like he's got like some James Hetfield thing going on, where it's like only Steve can be Steve. So
yeah, but anyone else can be their own Steve.
Absolutely. Why would you want to be anyone
like,
other than yourself?
Go find your own thing.
Exactly. Why would you want to be anyone other than yourself? Like, in my opinion, I was like, there's Tony Iommi, there's Geezer Butler, there's Cliff Burton, there's James Hetfield, there's the dudes from Discharge. I don't want to sound like any of those dudes because they do it so well. I can't be those guys.
So, and for me though, this is a point of pride that we now are the band that people get compared to.
That's
we've done something. Yeah.
You guys have done stuff that's like completely untouchable. It's like I've heard many people go like, yeah, for this record we're gonna try to get that Through Silver and Blood sound, or the Times of Grace, like complete wall of sound, that sort of thing, or things like that, and like you hear it back and it's like, yeah, you guys didn't even come close. So you're untouchable in that way. And I still think that like all the bass tones and the basses that you've chosen over the years, as I've watched videos and everything, and seen you play live and everything, I think you have one of the best ears for actual tonality on a bass, and all the effects that you use through different songs and everything. I'm like, this is the guy to aspire to be. So yeah, all of the stepping into one of the questions that I have in terms of like all the old Ibanez basses, like when they used to almost make them like violin quality, and like the Kramer basses and
they're
everything.
all cheap.
Sorry?
Yeah, those basses, you can still get those basses.
Yeah, but
$250, $300, $350. They're just the old Blazer series, or Roadster 2.
But did you say that they're selling for $350?
Yeah.
No, they're nuts.
Yeah.
Because everyone found out about them, and now they're like $2,000 American.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like that whole secret is being blown open, because I remember like as I sort of started seeing like that you figuring out that you played like basses from like this late 70s and through the 80s and stuff like that. I was like, cool. And I was looking at it, I was like, these basses are totally affordable, and they're like super well crafted. They're usually like super neck through, like almost like BC Rich style. And for a while there, like I got a couple and everything like that, and then like, you know, I went away from it for a few years, came back because I was like, I need a bass. Looked at the prices for those things, and I was like, oh my god, someone found the secret ingredient.
Oh,
like you could essentially buy a second house if you sold your collection.
No, I actually fairly recently brought a new one that had just been sitting in my attic back in commission because I needed a 4-string standard tuning bass for Neurosis' 30th year anniversary, because we went back and did stuff. The first, 3 records, which standard tuning, or Soul's Zero's half and half, but the first 2 are all standard.
Yeah.
So I needed another bass for that. But I recently dug that one out too, and it's great. I'm using it in Kicker now. I love it.
Oh my god!
New album there too.
And yeah, to show this to the people out there, this one's actually the Dave Ed's hair color. It's got a little label on. I'm not sure if people can read that out there.
Yeah, you can.
And I think Scotty sent me that one actually. So and it's great because it has Andre's amazing artwork on there, and especially that whatever you guys asked him to do with that is just a great metaphor in and of itself.
Yeah, that was Mauz's idea.
Is there any meaning behind that you'd be able to explain, or is that something that you just have to look at and draw your own conclusion?
It's the end of the world, man. Rockers coming all along. Here it is, just fucking, that bomb's coming, just go sit in the backyard, crack open a beer, and wait for it to happen.
Because that's what I love about Kicker. It's that end of days humor, but like has a depth to it, which I really love. There's such a cool depth to that band that, like, after you get past like the punk and the oi part, it's actually like pretty deep.
Yeah, we put together something I'm very fond of, and I know it's because we got a British singer, and just because of the way we play, it kind of sounds like we're all one style, but I swear, our songs can be so all over the place.
I mean, you guys do like great discharge parts too. Like when you guys kick the D beat, it's like... Yeah,
we could do that, but then we got like a Subhumans thing, and then we got kind of old LA, Orange County sound. Mauz really likes stuff like Agent Orange, so like kind of punk rock with surfy guitar stuff sneaks in. TSOL.
I love that stuff. And then also like the little interludes in songs or between songs and stuff like that. even though Mauz might be at odds with Dystopia, which he's explained to me a couple of times, he can never quite get away from writing like a Dystopia style interlude or like arpeggiated sort of few chords.
Yeah, true that.
He's quite amazing at that. He's like, along with you guys, he's definitely one of my musical inspirations in that regard. So, and that therein actually like lays a question that I was wanting to ask. I was like, as 1995 sort of kicks in, and like you've got stuff like from the Bay Area, you got Dystopia happening. You guys had obviously got like a much thicker, sludgier, slower thing happening. Then you have stuff like His Hero's Gone from Memphis. Like, what was your sort of reaction to seeing like punk not just cross over, but like take an extreme metal sort of element in with it in that way?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, it was what we were doing ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe a few years, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, shit, that's absolutely what I was listening to, and I don't know. Carl, the bass player, was one of my best friends, and he was a roommate for a long time as well.
Yep. He's one of the greatest people on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, he just had his second kid. Okay, I didn't know you knew Carl. Of course you do.
Yeah.
Carl's super awesome. Yeah. Neurosis played the Tragedy a bunch.
Yep.
Like those guys still, of course. So, I feel like they're all, I want to say like our children, but I feel like we definitely had something to do with those bands sounding like they do. So I think you really our influence is undeniable. So
yeah,
I like seeing our seeds thrown out and becoming part of something else.
Absolutely, because it's like undeniable.
We created those bands, but I will say that we helped shape some of those bands in that way.
Absolutely, I'll 100% agree with that. So that's awesome. One of them.
Dead proud about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just happy. I've done something with my life that's that meaningful to people. If Neurosis never played live ever again, after this COVID thing goes away, I'm still just happy I've done it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it was Fast Eddie once said, I'd rather have Ace of Spades than $1 million in the bank. And I'm like, that's the quote.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, as I guess Through Silver and Blood blows up, you guys get to play like Ozfest, and you get to tour with Pantera, and I'm guessing that you're like sort of seeing, for lack of a better word, like the sort of like the bigwig / Hollywood style touring aspects at that time. That must have been kind of jarring.
Yeah, but at that point it was absolutely our ambition to make a living off of being in a band and to tour a shit ton.
Yep.
And we felt like touring with a bigger band like Pantera is going to expose us to new people, and it might be nice to tour under those conditions, like real backstage or whatever.
Some catering.
Great sound, catering, all that. And we also felt like it wasn't going to take away from our other touring because we were already out there. It's like, all right, we're going to tour 200 days a year. We can tour 100 days of Pantera and still tour 100 days headlining. So, maybe we're playing Boston with Pantera, but guess what? We'll be back in 6 months headlining. So don't come see us there, but, otherwise we don't want to come through twice headlining Boston, because that was really starting to get old. When we were trying to tour too much and we were going back to cities twice in a year.
Oh my god.
That was too much. we figured out to do it differently. It's like, you go out with a headlining band and none of your fans want to go see you for $30 and fucking, Cowboys from Hell. Like that's not Neurosis fans thing. So fine, Neurosis will play some fans of other stuff, and maybe we'll pick up some new fans or get exposed to new people. We'd already toured with Guar before headlining. I think that was Pantera was the second band we were. In fact, that's where we met Phil.
Right.
Phil came to see us in New Orleans when we played with Guar, and we're like, "Oh, that's cool. You like Guar? Well, I came here to see you guys." What? It's like, oh yeah, like, Guar's fun, but I fucking love Neurosis.
Yeah.
What?
Because I think if nothing else, he's always been a champion of the underground.
Yeah, we quickly found that out. Like, okay, he's the guy wearing the Venom shirt and Black Flag shirts, and yeah. The other guys seem more like Van Halen type people. Yeah, Phil's into black metal and death metal and whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's awesome. And one of the other guests on here, I think it was the Through Silver and Blood tour. Like he was in a death metal band called Entombed, and his name is Jorgen. He was a bass player. And
Jorgen.
Yeah. He's a great friend of mine. I love talking to him, and like he's one of my favorite vocalists of all time because of his work in Grave and Death Breath and things like that. And he said that he'd never heard Neurosis, but he was just sort of probably more just doing his duty as a bass player, and you guys got paired up together to tour through Europe. And he said he went outside just to catch his breath off before the set or something like that, and you guys heard the 4 count in, and then it was just destruction for an hour or whatever it was that you guys were playing, and he was like, "What the fuck is that?" and ran back in, and he was just instantly hooked, and said he became the biggest fan. So, and he still is still to this day we'll just talk about random Neurosis songs with each other just out of the blue and just be like, I'm feeling this today.
Funny.
So
I miss those guys.
Yeah. What was it like at that time? Sort of because I'd be guessing you gone toured with a whole bunch of weird stuff on the Ozfest bill. You probably not been playing with death metal bands before, so what was it like touring Europe with a death metal band?
We were always getting lumped in with metal, especially after Through Silver and Blood.
Right.
We got so much metal press. We were just called a metal band.
Yeah.
People say that they go, oh, they used to be a hardcore band, but now they're a metal band.
Right.
People just call us metal. I'm like, we don't have guitar solos. We're not a metal band. We had enough of certain elements. Okay, well, we're down tuned. I guess metal people are down tuning now as well. I don't know. It wasn't traditional metal by any means, but it's the closest thing for most people to label us as.
Yeah.
Since that point, we were eluding any easy, one-word descriptor. So
yeah.
I'm sure I can't remember who we would have been with, but I'm sure we toured with plenty of other metal stuff before Entombed. I mean, we were very excited to get Entombed. We were all definitely fans of their stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who we toured here with before. That might have been the first time we actually went out with another band supporting us.
Also, you do Europe, but sort of have local acts there within.
At least the first tour, probably the second one, and then. Okay. Unsane we toured Europe with.
That would have been a show and a half. That would be amazing.
Big tour too. That was 69 shows in 70 days.
Jesus Christ! How did you guys survive that? You must have been out of your minds at that point. Jesus.
Like I said, I mean, we just like to go for it.
Yeah. Yep. If,
I mean, what's the point of sitting around on tour? I mean, a day off is nice, I guess, especially if you're somewhere nice. But if you're taking that much time off for your life, you should be
yeah, that's amazing. I think as you guys sort of burnt out on touring and things weren't getting to the next level, or perhaps you guys just didn't want to be out on the road as much, you guys started slowing down the amount of touring that you wanted to do, and all sort of went and sort of more stabilized your lives at home and everything like that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I think at the same time you put together Neurot, because you guys wanted to follow the blueprint of all your favorite sort of bands, and have your own actual home base to control everything.
Right. Yeah. Actually, it was great. Relapse helped us set up Neurot.
I was gonna say as far as I could work out, they may have given you a hand in that.
Yep. They deal with Relapse. It was kind of funny. We had some friends of ours that were booking us, and we finally just said, they said, you guys need management. We're like, you guys are practically managing us anyway. They're like, okay, we'll manage you. So they started managing us. And these are just punk rock dudes who just have their shit together. After we left Alternative Tentacles, we wanted to get on a bigger label. So we got this lawyer. We paid him $500. He's the guy that helps you solicit to talk to A&R departments at various labels. Major labels get 300-400 things a day.
Yep.
And they're probably just throwing it all right out. If you get something from an entertainment attorney who says I'm representing these guys, that gets heard.
Yep.
So this guy was already the guy that got the Melvins signed. You got our friend Sam I Am signed. Green Day got signed on their own.
Yep.
But this guy was helping get all these bands signed. So we went with him, had a meeting with him, and he said, the deal's simple. You give me $500 and I'll solicit you to every major label. That's all you do. Okay. So he did, and we had meetings with, I think, 8 labels in 2 days. We just went down and met with all these LA labels. Yeah, and they all kind of offered us the same thing. It was a real weird time. Everyone that was there had something to do with Nirvana. It's I was in the marketing department at DGC when Nirvana hit. I was this and that, blah, blah, blah. But everyone down there was on their second job within the year. So they're so after that all blew up, I got hired as the A&R person at this label. But they fucking suck, so I bailed from them. Now I'm here. I've been here for 3 months. It's the same story everywhere. We're getting rid of all the old people, so they're kicking out everybody else. Steely Dan, Fleetwood Mac, that shit's dead here now. We're getting rid of the old guard. It's anyone that had anything to do with Sonic Youth or Nirvana is getting hired. But then they were all quitting their second jobs and had just moved in somewhere else. And they were trying to sign us to these 7-record deals. We're you might want to sign with someone who's only been there for 2 months, and when that person leaves, or, everyone's you guys have total street cred, we totally respect your catalog, we've seen what your sales are, this is great, we can totally work with this. What happens when they give it to the radio department? Radio's I don't smell a hit.
Yeah.
And then, so we really just didn't trust these guys. But already, we had all gotten into ambient experimental music and doing weird stuff, and we already started trying to do Neurot. So we'd already worked with Relapse before. Our friend Ronald was, Ron said, hey, I know these guys in this label called Relapse. They're great. There's all these weird experimental stuff.
You have to excuse me for a second. There's a hailstorm happening outside, hit the window, so if it gets a little loud, sorry.
So anyway, no hailstorm here. So anyway, we've been working with Relapse already because they put out the first Fudge Tunnel, blood transmission. And when we were through Philadelphia area, we went down to their headquarters and we met everyone from the label and stuff, and there's like, these guys are awesome. These guys are fucking music nerds, and everyone here is goddamn enthusiastic. We're like, and we see what they're doing, and they're young, and they're into it, and they're totally invested, and they're not like Hollywood Johnny-come-lately, oh, I had something to do with Nirvana, so now I'm at this label, but I'm going to jump ship, and everything goes bad here like it did at that last label. It fell apart, and everyone left. Like we don't want to work with these weird A&R people bullshit. We want to work with people that are fucking music fans. We really like the people at Relapse, so we just kept going back to Relapse and talking amongst ourselves, just kept bringing them up, going, you know what? We should just fucking stay independent and go with those guys. They're way bigger than Alternative Tentacles, and these guys are fucking hungry. They can work with us. We built our name up. These guys will sell records for us, and we're not going to wind up... Already our friend Sam I Am had been signed, put out a record, we're writing another record, wrote the other record, recorded it, and their A&R guy said, you didn't sell enough of the last record, this one isn't so great, we don't want to put it out. But they're like, is this what being shelved is? Like, yeah. Like, okay. Oh, for some reason you're muted.
Just so the storm doesn't come through.
So, our friends have shelved, so we'd already seen that, and they're like, well, we just want to get off the label, and we're going to go re-release this ourselves, or give it to somebody else. The record label was like, no, you're still under contract with us. We realized that we're way too weird, and we weren't going to work out. Even the Melvins had a pretty good run at Atlantic, but even the same thing happened to them that we thought would happen to us, which would have been inevitable. We're too weird, so we went to Relapse and said, hey, do you guys want us? And like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, we want you guys to put us out. You guys have a hunger. You know, can you put out our next record? And they said, sure.
That's
and
amazing.
Wow. And they promoted us out of it, and they sold a bunch of fucking copies of it. And I'm like, okay, that's the best-selling record we've had yet.
Yep.
About a year and a half later or something, you know, we're still touring, we're whatever. They're like, you guys plan on doing another record anytime soon? Like, yeah, we're actually talking about recording anytime soon. Like, we put so much money into Times of Grace, and it was a one-record deal. They're like, could you do us a favor and just give us a two-record deal, and we'll still work with you? Like, you know, we're going to probably invest like $100,000 in marketing for you, and it feels a lot less risky if we know we're going to get at least one more album after that. They were like, well, that's cool, except we kind of wanted to start our own label. Would you let us put out an EP on our own label in between the next two? And they're like, yeah, we can work that into the deal. Sure, let's do that.
Awesome.
So then we did. We went in and we recorded... Jesus Christ, what was our second album with Relapse?
A Song That Never Sets? No, wait, that's the third one.
No.
Wait, it was Through Silver and Blood was the first one. Times of Grace was the second one.
Okay, so that was, okay, yep. Times of Grace. And then we did the, what's it called, EP? I can't remember the name of it.
The Sovereign EP.
No.
No? Wasn't that the one after?
What's it called?
Sovereign. Isn't it? Wait.
Yes, I misheard you. Sovereign, yes. I know. I should know. Well, the problem is I don't listen to Neurosis.
I do.
I never. Yeah. So we actually went out and had enough material so that we recorded Times of Grace and Sovereign at the same time.
Ah.
And actually most of Grace we recorded like late at night after we got done recording songs for Times of Grace. We had a rough mix, and we started doing some of the layered tracks, the background of that, and some other Tribes and Neurot stuff. We recorded a shit ton of stuff And yeah, then I guess about a year after Times of Grace, you go to Relapse and you say, you know, we're kind of having a hard time figuring out, you know, sourcing for pressing and, you know, starting our own label and stuff. And they're like, oh, well, you know, we get a really good bulk rate because, you know, we press like whatever the fuck they were pressing, 250, 300,000 records a year.
Yeah.
Or something from the pressing. Like, we'll set you up with our pressing plan and just give you a Relapse deal. We'll just make you guys, we'll just say that you guys are like Releases, like a sub-label of ours.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so we need fixing on pressing stuff? We're like, yeah, we'll do that for you. We're like, cool. We're like, we'll help you distribute it too if you want. We're like, that sounds good. So they gave us our own label.
Yep. That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah, so then once we started putting out our own stuff, that was that weird period of time where CDs were more popular than vinyl. We were still giving the vinyl to Relapse.
Yeah.
And now we give. Now we've been re-releasing some back catalog stuff through Relapse and CD editions through Relapse.
Yep.
So they've still been partnered with us. We still fucking love them.
Yeah. Everyone's amazing there. Like all my dealings and hangs and everything with everyone there, they've just always been so nice to me. All the time. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So just to hear that they helped you like establish Neurot, because I was like, you guys must really love them, because I think all the re-releases with like the dark versions of the covers and everything over the past like 5, 6, 7, 8 years now, I think they all really came out through Relapse, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I was like, that's really cool, because you guys could have probably done it through Neurot and everything, so that's cool to give it back to them in that way, to do that. They get a hand in it.
Yeah. So we're still fully partners.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's yeah. We try not to leave people on bad terms, especially when you work with good people.
Absolutely. That's amazing to hear. Well, as that sort of as you slow down and everything like that, you know, all these bands like Kicker start to be able to come to the thing. So like, is there some stories that you can explain of like how Kicker came about? Because that's a melding of a whole bunch of personalities that are like magical forces in and of themselves.
Yeah. Let's see. Jesus fucking Christ was almost completely inactive at that point, because it was bad enough when our guitar player, singer Larry, moved from the Bay Area back up to Bainbridge, raised his family, but he would still put his foot up our butt to go fly up to Seattle and play a few shows in the area, me and the drummer Jamie. Or he would come down, we'd do some shows around here. But then Jamie, our drummer, moved to the East Coast, and being a band operating on the level that we did, and how much it cost to fly someone from the East Coast out, you know, to play a show we're going to get $200 for in you know, Seattle, and it's going to cost me $200 to get up to Seattle. It's going to cost him $500 to get up there. At that point, we were not completely dead. We definitely were still around for another 3 or 4 years to follow, and we're still not officially broken up, but we just haven't done anything in 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
But there were quite a few Jesus fucking Christ and Kicker shows. And Larry would also play with his other band. That was fun. Larry would come down with his old original band, Ricketts, and play. And then we would also do Jesus fucking Christ set and a Kicker set. So Larry would play twice, and I'd play twice.
Cool.
Yeah, Kicker, I was kind of bummed because I had kind of always had something on the side, or at least the last bunch of years had something on the side since Neurosis slowed down. And Jesus fucking Christ wasn't really doing much. And me and Mauz were friends, and then we've got our friend Pete the Roadie.
Yep. Who I think is possibly one of the most interesting characters I've ever met before in my life. He's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. He's, oh my God, he's kept a journal. I think he's roading over 2,000 shows.
Wow. Because
every show.
He no longer is like a Neurosis roadie, but he still does roadieing, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is
not that much. Yeah. Shelby offers band. He's a roadie for Guantanamo School of Medicine.
Sweet.
Who my very good friend Jason Willard is the drummer for, and he was the guy that I was in that band Enemies with. So where was I? So at that point, I kind of only had Neurosis, and Neurosis wasn't doing all that much. We're at Gilman Street. Mauz comes in from outside, and he's just like, I was just fucking with Roddy, and I convinced him that me and him were starting a band together. I'm like, oh, we're starting a band with Roddy? It's like, no, I just convinced him. I just went up to him and said, hey, man, we should start a band together, and I just kept fucking with him. And Roddy kept saying, no, and I kept saying, yeah. And now I think he thinks that I actually believe that I'm starting a band with him. I'm like, no, let's do this for real. I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, let's do this. Let's start a band with him. He's like, you? I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ isn't doing anything, and Neurosis barely does anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, and goddamn it, if anyone in the world's gonna start a band with Roddy, I'm going to be in that fucking band. And I was like, well, I was going to play bass. I'm like, no, because Mauz had started playing bass in bands and kind of giving up on guitar. I'm like,
right.
Fuck, no, you don't. You're playing guitar and I'm playing bass. He's like, really? Like, yes, let's start a goddamn band. He's like, oh, okay, but you were just joking with Roddy out front. And I'm like, well, let's make this not a joke. Like, okay, that's pretty funny. Okay, yeah, let's start a band. Okay, great. Well, Roddy's already convinced that we're starting a band, so, yeah, okay. Who's going to play drums? I'm like, I miss Toby. Toby doesn't hang out anymore. He needs to drum for a band. He was a drummer for a while, and him and Mauz grew up together in Southern California.
Right.
Mauz was like, oh, I love Toby. I'm like, oh, I didn't know if you even knew Toby. I'm like, hell yeah. Let's start a band. And so the show was wrapping up, and I go outside, and I see Roddy there, and I'm like, hey, Roddy, I'm in the new band, too. He's like, what? I'm in the band with Mauz. He looked at me all, oh, okay. I didn't say I'd be in this band. I'm like, you're in the band. And then we left, and we did for a couple weeks. But I would go by Mauz's work after he got done at work, and he had a drum machine there. He's very, very good at and then going back and going.
Wow.
So we just went and demoed like 4 or 5 songs, and he put down fake drums on it. And right when it felt like it was, I was like, let's wait until we actually have something to show Roddy before we call him about this. Because we knew he was just sitting there wondering, like, what's that thing Mauz is talking about? He said something about it too. Like, is this? He called me up one night. He's like, hey, Roddy, what's up? He's like, so you and Mauz were saying something about having a band. Is this right? I'm like, yeah, we've actually got 4.5 songs demoed. I'm like, okay, I wasn't sure if this was real or not. I'm like, yeah, I know you're really hesitant to be in a band. It's like, yeah, we wrote lyrics for 3 songs. I'm like, yes, come on down. So the next day he came down, and we were like, oh man, that totally fits. Just sing this there, and that's the chorus, put that there, and boom, song. This one, where's this song? Boom, boom. And for the end of that day, like within the first 10, 12 days, we had 3 songs. Had the 4th one, Roddy went and wrote the lyrics for that. Had drum machine demos for it. Called Toby in the meantime. Toby's like, hell yeah, I want to be in a band with you guys. That'd be fun. Boom, got him on board. Gave him a CD with the tracks on it. He learned them. Got together at Mauz's shop that he works at.
Yep.
And just practiced. Boom, kickers happening. And then amazing. Scotty, our friend who runs Tankcrimes Records.
Yep.
Was
Tankcrimes
only
Records.
employee. Yep. at the poster printing shop that Mauz owns.
Yep.
And Scotty just watched everything happen. Scotty would, like, we'd be having beers after work, and Scotty would be like, cleaning up last few things. Like, hey, Miles, he's like, oh man, wait, can I hear what you guys have now? Oh shit, this is coming together good. So Scotty was like, I was there at the birth. I saw Mauz writing the first songs. I saw Dave Ed come down, play bass on them. I saw Rody come in and sing. So he watched the birth of us. So that was a very good thing. He's just like, I love you guys. You know that you're going to be a Tankcrimes band. You got a label. You got a fucking label deal.
But if there was energy, because you guys have such, like, everyone in Kicker is, like, an amazing spirit, and Scotty's just an amazing spirit. So I couldn't see any other pairing happening. Like, you guys are a Tankcrimes band through and through.
But it's sad, though. I don't know if you read his emails or talking about stuff. I mean, he's been sending emails to his email list, people saying, I'm not doing anything else this year except focusing on Neurot. He said, I'll put out some re-releases of bands that people are waiting for. Yes, there's more Dystopia back catalog coming and more. Oh, I don't remember. What's the little grind band he's been re-releasing stuff for?
Grind band?
Nah, name's slipping.
Can't remember.
Anyway.
Oh,
yeah.
Mortuous, perhaps? I forget.
No. I'm good friends with Mortuous, though. Me and the bass player have been working together the past 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing you all the different bass players I work with is one of them.
That's awesome. But yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, he's still a little bit of stuff, but when you talk to him, he's like, I really got to just pare down this label but keep it around just to focus on Neurot. He's like, everything else is just getting to be too much. So we're not sure what's going to happen with the next Kicker, but we're writing songs.
He's thinking that maybe Tankcrimes goes into remission in a way.
Kind of. He wants to hyper focus on Neurot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's bringing in so much money. So
yeah, I think maybe Ghoul, because I know Ghoul does really well too.
Yeah. It was like crazy. I remember like the dudes in Ghoul, because they do Impaled, they were trying to go with Impaled for the longest time. I was like, no, you guys are so wrong. You got to do Ghoul. Ghoul is like where the cream's at, and they're like, it's a joke band, and I was just like, oh my god. And then finally it just broke, and the world loved them. So.
Yeah, you go and see them, and it's like, these kids would never be in an Impaled show.
They're definitely not.
They get the war crowd. They get the like 14, 15-year-old kids who go there to get splat.
Absolutely. And it's the coolest thing, because I started talking to like Ross and Sean as soon as like the first Ghoul record came out, and we've been like, and this was in times when it was like email, and so we've been friends ever since then, and that's how I ended up. I think that's how I ended up meeting Scotty through them, or it might have been when I was doing stuff with Municipal Waste, and like, yeah, I see Scotty as like an older brother that I never had.
Yeah, this guy's great.
He's amazing. So, well, that's amazing. Like to hear that story of Kicker and everything like that. So. And as we near 2 hours here, I don't want to keep you all night, but I just wanted to see what if you had 3 records to recommend people out there who are maybe more so stuck in the punk and metal sort of realm that they wouldn't necessarily have ever heard, but may end up like having them as like a foundation for something new. What would you recommend to the dudes and dudettes out there to check out?
3 things that people may have not heard.
That may
anyone out there hasn't. What's that?
That may be outside the realms of metal and punk.
Oh, outside? Well, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm a huge fan of, like, krautrock and new wave.
Yep.
I don't even know where to go with that. Outside the realms. One of my favorite bands, an old band from Minneapolis called Hammerhead.
Right.
I would say they would loosely fit under punk, but they kind of did their own thing. I guess it would be more noise rock, which is kind of a subset of punk. They were on Amphetamine and Reptile. Into the Vortex is one of my favorite albums. Incredible songwriting. Great bass playing, great guitar playing. Just such good songs. And just noisy and fucked up and a little bit weird, but also definitely kind of beautiful. For me, that's just a perfect record. I don't know. Every note, every way they play everything is incredible. I saw them open for the Melvins a couple times. I'd never heard of them before, and they just completely tore my face off. I couldn't believe
that's amazing.
How incredible this band.
I gotta check this out after this.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, I believe, too, so you can probably just YouTube it.
Sweet.
Into the Vortex. Outside the realms of punk and metal. I also have to say Devo, because Devo was really the band that got me into music.
Yep.
So let's say, first tattoo, which I actually got in Adelaide.
In Adelaide? You got your first tattoo in Adelaide, of all places. What made you sort of, because that's one thing that I always noticed with you. I was like, man, that dude has no tattoos. So what made you sort of cave in and go like, you know what, fuck it, let's go.
I had a dream about getting tattooed on the very short flight from wherever it was the day before to Adelaide.
Right.
So basically, it was a 45-minute or hour-long flight. I just kind of dozed off, and I had a dream I was getting tattooed. I had a dream I was getting that tattoo actually on my back, with a huge back piece. And then we played in Adelaide. The show ended. A very friendly guy with dreadlocks came over to me and was wearing a homemade hoodie with that same Devo art on it.
Wow.
And said, hey, I just talked to the guy that was like, hey, does anyone in the band want some weed? And I was like, sure. And I took the weed and brought it up and threw it to guys on stage and smoked weed. And then I went back down. I just go up and talk to people after the show's over. I'm always social and I'm always super amped up.
Yep.
And I start talking, and this guy comes up and he's like, anybody in Neurosis want a quick free tattoo? I own a tattoo shop, and I'm just offering up. I know people like to get tats on the road. I'm like, dude, you're wearing a Duty Now for the Future hoodie. It's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, yeah. And I kind of had this weird dream last night about getting a tattoo on him. He's like, oh, check it out. And he had it tattooed on him. He had done his own tattoo himself of that. He actually had some really bad something underneath it. He had done in black.
Right.
But then he went over it himself with white. And so he had a weird reverse one. I'm like, wow, because that's what I was thinking about getting tattoos. Like, oh, man. So I went up to go tell our tour manager that I was going to go get a tattoo. And I'm like, what? You're getting a tattoo, Dave? And someone's like, what? You're getting a tattoo, Dave? And Scott and Steve come over and they're like, you don't have any tattoos, Dave? I'm like, no. Bring over this tattoo. He's like, I want to see his credentials. And they're like, all right, this is Dave's first tattoo. They were dead serious with this guy. Like, this is Dave's first tattoo. Can you show me like 4 or 5 pictures of your art? Like, I want to make sure this guy's good. Like, damn, Dad. And then he was just like, I feel like I was asking out a teenage daughter, and I had to go talk to her dad or something. Like, yeah, he really did really. They're like, no, he looks good. He can do that. He'll be fine.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I went back in the shop and listened to Devo for a couple hours, and he busted that out on me. And then, of course, I got the itch, and now I've got more.
Yeah. You're actually like, I think when we were like texting a few years ago, and you're like, yeah, because I'd seen you play maybe the Ross Gilda show, and I was like, is that a fucking tattoo on his arm? I think I texted you, and you were like, oh yeah, and you tell me the artist who did it and everything like that. And ever since then, I've had like they may have been like 4 or 5 years ago now, but I've had an itch to get tattooed since, and I still have no tattoos either. So I'm in the same boat where I'm like trying to decide whether or not to fall in or stay out.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife's got double and triple the amount I got.
Wow. Are you angling to like get to that, or are you good?
No, I want to get another tattoo. Yeah, so we both got to the point where we said we're both getting a little too heavy, so we said, let's get ourselves some anniversary tattoos for our first anniversary of our wedding.
Yep.
And she said, make it fun. Let's make it be only if we lose weight and get to the weight we want to be. And I feel really good. We've been dieting for 3 weeks, and I've lost 10 pounds, 4.5 kilos.
That's awesome. Congrats. Because I'm on the same thing. I've put on so much weight since I moved back to Australia. I used to be like a stick, and now I've got like a gut. So, yeah, I feel you on that battle. So, yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. And also, like, eating clean is just makes you feel better.
Yeah. I'm very close to vegan now. But
Yeah.
I've been vegetarian for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
She's 35, 36 years? 36 years.
That's amazing. That's because like I try along that same line, like to eat as much vegetarian and non-dairy as possible, and then times where I can just go vegan for as long straight as I can. Just not eating any animal-based products, and so I always feel so much better when that happens. And that's really awesome. Really, really awesome.
Yeah, I quit smoking about half a year ago. I feel way better.
Congratulations! Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that's like just unbearable to go through. Those withdrawals. Jesus. So
yeah,
that's really, really awesome. So to take it out, hit the last question.
I need a third.
Did we not go through a third? Okay, yeah, hit us with the third. Maybe a hip hop record.
I'm not that big into hip hop.
Damn.
I really like Public Enemy. That's about it.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's something? I don't want to talk about the garbage I'm listening to now. I've somehow gotten on a Steely Dan kick. I never liked it before. Now I fucking love Steely Dan.
I gotta send you a YouTube video of a comedian talking about taking like some very young people to a Steely Dan concert who thought Steely Dan might have been a rapper's name.
Oh, totally. That's funny. That's good. That's good.
But if we're gonna stay on Steely Dan, are you gonna recommend Steely Dan, or are you gonna say?
I'm not that familiar with their music. I don't know. I just put on a couple albums, and I know the songs, but no, I wouldn't recommend them. No, something weird and fucked up. I like a lot of weird and fucked up stuff. I'll just name a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Please hit us with the list.
That's mainstream, like Nina Hagen, Nunsex Monk Rock.
Yep.
That is a hell of a fucking record. Vocals are incredible. The music's incredible. It's bizarre, but it's beautiful. And it's just immaculately played. Everything's perfect. Everything's perfect on that one. And it's before she went really disco. It's great. Kraftwerk in Future World or Man Machine. Also, just immaculately beautiful, new wave mixed with classical music, whatever. And then, if you want like twisted bad trip nursery rhymes and you've never bothered listening to Residents, listen to the Residents. Buster and Glenn. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
It's just totally twisted, fragmented, bizarre, nightmarish. they sound like what David Lynch movies are like, especially ones more like Eraserhead or something.
Yep.
They remind me of that kind of vibe. Just that dark acid trip, but with a sick sense of humor. The Butthole Surfers were even less musicians and more just sound artists or something. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's stuff I listen to.
I like that. I like the idea that it's like explore outside the box, because we all need to in some sort of way through the time. So and if that's one thing that I've always gained from you, it was that you really like off kilter weird sounding shit, which is awesome. So
yeah.
And I think the first time I ever talked to you was like just as we were like watching Voivod soundcheck somewhere. I was like, all right, this guy knows what time it is.
It's got to be interesting. It's got to be unique.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or it's got, I don't know. Then there's this undeniably great. It doesn't need to be unique. It just needs to be well.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
A good song is a good song, regardless of whatever it ends up being. So, the last question I have is, obviously we're all tied down with COVID right now, but aside from the Krallice stuff, which we talked about earlier, is there anything else coming up that you are partaking in or that we should check out? And is there anything in terms of like merch or output that like you would like to tell the people out there to check out and buy from you? Because that's one of the big things of this podcast, that I do want it to be sort of like a showcase for people through this time to be able to get their merch and stuff moving where possible.
You can put up a link for people that haven't heard Kicker to
sure.
our merch. I would recommend checking Kicker out. That's what I get to do more often than not, and what I love doing.
Yep.
Our biggest fan, this guy's at all our shows. His name is Nate. He is he's part of this whole Northern California region Rocky Horror Picture Show revival. So he puts together a group of people to perform Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like, I don't know if you know that people do that, but
yep.
There's a whole cast usually performing in front of the screen.
Yep.
So he's the guy that runs Northern California version of that. They're called Fairly Legal. And Kicker's his favorite band. We're playing his birthday party. We're playing a socially distanced birthday party for him September 12th. Very excited for. And something else, Kicker actually did also get to play about 6 weeks ago, I think. Somebody in Mauz's East Bay town called Albany, which is right next to Berkeley, got permission from the city to have musicians play from their porches, driveways, sidewalks, front lawns, whatever.
Wow. And
Kicker's side word got approved, so the police knew that we were going to be playing, and it was okay as long as the audience was wearing masks.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Mauz was across the street from this big greenway where BART trains go by.
Sweet.
So there's this big section of lawn across the street from his house that actually goes for miles in the direction. So he's got no neighbors across the street. We put the crowd across the street from us, and we played in the driveway, and didn't put the word out until about 2 days before, and told people not to post it on social media.
Right.
We got 100 people out, which is about what Mauz wanted. He didn't want.
Yeah.
If we promoted it, we probably would have got 1,000 people out.
Yeah, no doubt.
It would be first East Bay punk band to play in the past 3 months or something.
Yep, absolutely.
I'll figure out a link to a video for one of the songs, so you can. Absolutely. So if anyone wants to see Kicker playing in a driveway to an audience, 30 meters away from us.
That's amazing.
It was called. There's a big festival in Southern California called Coachella, and this person named the event COVIDchella. So
amazing.
That That was a blast. Our drummer moved about 3 hours north of here.
Oh my god.
So he's still getting settled in and stuff, and then with coronavirus and his wife just getting a new job, and then him being a stay-at-home dad, things just didn't work out to practice. So
yeah,
Kicker still hasn't practiced since coronavirus, but we did get together for that day and played the show, which was such a blast.
That's awesome. Those small rays of sunshine through this time just necessary where you can sneak them in. So
it felt so good to play with people.
Yep. I can only imagine because like that's been in your veins since like what 82 now. That's like Jesus Christ, like nearly 40 years.
Yeah, and nearly 40 years of playing at least once a month, pretty much.
Yep. Jesus Christ, man. Or Jesus fucking Christ. So, but yeah, cool, man. I've sort of run out of questions for you, so like, I'll let you go enjoy the rest of the night. But thank you so much for doing this. I know, been chasing each other back and forth and technical difficulties and everything. So thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it to no end, and I hope later on down the track we can do like a round two, or I was going to actually start like rounding up a bunch of like people like say you and Mike and Jorgen from Entombed and Grave, and sort of trying to do like a Zoom sort of panel where like I throw out sort of questions about stuff and see everyone's take and stuff like that.
Oh, that'd be... Fuck yeah, count me in.
Yeah, sweet. Cool, man. Well, yeah, thank you again. I can't be thankful enough that you took the time to do this, and I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'll hit you up to send me any and all links that you would like on there, but I'm going to put all the Neurot stuff, and anyone who's watching this, please go raid the Neurot store, because there's so many. You guys have like started printing all the classic shirts again and everything like that, so get on it, please. And yeah, thank you again, man, and have the best rest of the evening, and we'll talk real soon.
Yeah, great talking, mate.
Cheers.
Nah, everyone's talking.
Anything works, man. Nathan, Nate, Nath, it all works. I've been called Nath more than anything, so... Alright, take it easy, man.
Bullshit.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
Peace.
Peace out.